What a week for Rangers. Drama, huge wins, and, of course, Celtic in tears once again. Athletic Bilbao's manager is already making excuses before even stepping foot in Ibrox. Václav Cerny breaks silence on Rangers' water-squirting celebration against the green and white complainers. But Barami speaks out on Barry Ferguson. Chris Boyd shuts down a ridiculous claim from the other side. And Rangers hit back at the Union Bears after a UEFA charge. Want to see all these stories and more? Stay until the end. We are the people. And here we go again. Before even setting foot in Ibrox, Ernesto Valverde is already crying about the fixture schedule. It seems the Athletic Bilbao manager is getting his excuses in early, just in case Rangers steamroll his side in the Europa League quarterfinals. The Spaniard is unhappy because his team faces Villarreal late on Sunday before traveling to Glasgow. According to Valverde, this takes away a day of rest before their clash with Rangers. Now, we have heard this kind of complaint before, usually from managers who know they are in for a tough time against Rangers and are trying to plant excuses in advance. What he conveniently fails to mention is that Rangers have also been dealing with a packed schedule and have never moaned about it. If there is one club built to overcome obstacles, it is you, Rangers. You have already seen off teams like OGC Nice and Fenerbahce, and now the chance to make Ibrox a nightmare for another Spanish side awaits. And speaking of Spain, the record against Spanish teams might not be the most impressive, but that is history. The future is in your hands. The first leg will be at Ibrox on the 10th of April, and you will want to make sure that night is an absolute cauldron for the visitors. Now, Valverde says he has always dreamed of facing Rangers in a competitive match to experience the atmosphere. Well, he will get his chance, but will he still be calling it a dream once the nerves start kicking in? If he is already moaning about the schedule, what on earth will he say after 90 minutes in Ibrox? And here we go again. The sheer level of outrage over Václav Cerny's so-called Watergate moment at the piggery is nothing short of laughable. A bit of water, a bit of passion, and suddenly we have a police investigation, SFA scrutiny, and talk of an 8-game ban? You could not make it up. Cerny, in the heat of the moment, celebrated Hamza Egaman's stunning winner by spraying a bit of water towards the home crowd, and just like that, Celtic's PR machine kicked into overdrive. Police Scotland are now investigating, the SFA are looking into it, and the usual suspects in green and white are demanding consequences. The absolute state of it. Cerny himself has called the reaction absurd, and he is spot on. A packed, hostile stadium, emotions running high, and people are genuinely trying to turn this into a scandal. It is beyond ridiculous. Barry Ferguson had the perfect response, brushing it off as irrelevant while focusing on seeing out the victory. Meanwhile, Ali McCoist summed up the mood among Rangers supporters perfectly. Instead of a ban, Cerny deserves a knighthood. But let us be honest, this is not really about the water. This is about Rangers winning at Parkhead. This is about a last-minute goal, sparking absolute scenes in the away end, while the home crowd watched on in misery. This is about Celtic grasping at anything to deflect from what happened on the pitch. And now, here is the real question. If Cerny is facing a ban for celebrating with a bit of water, where was the outrage when Celtic players were goading Rangers fans at Hampden? Where were the police inquiries then? Nadim Bajrami has given an honest assessment of his situation at Rangers under Barry Ferguson, admitting he has played less since the managerial change, but crucially, he is not kicking up a fuss. That right there is the mentality you want at Ibrox. No sulking, no moaning to the media, just a player willing to fight for his spot in a squad packed with competition. The Albanian midfielder, now away on international duty, was, of course, at the center of the so-called Watergate nonsense at the piggery alongside Václav Cerny. But instead of dwelling on that farcical overreaction, he has his focus on the bigger picture. namely Rangers' stunning triumph over Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce in the Europa League. That result gave the entire club a massive confidence boost, and Barami is feeding off that energy as he prepares to face England at Wembley. Yes, he has lost his place in the starting 11 since Ferguson took over, but he is taking it in his stride. And let's be clear, this is what happens in a proper squad. You fight for your place, and when the chance comes, you take it. Ferguson is setting high standards, and Barami knows exactly what is required. Now, the real question, if Barami, a player with his level of technical ability, is struggling to get into this Rangers side under Ferguson, what does that say about the levels being set in training? And more importantly, is this the kind of ruthless selection approach that will finally take Rangers back to the top where they belong? Chris Boyd has absolutely nailed it here. The idea that Celtic had no incentive to win that match is the biggest load of nonsense you will ever hear. This is an old firm derby. There's always something at stake, whether it is the title race, pride, or just pure hatred for the other side. Anyone trying to downplay Rangers' victory at the Piggery is clutching at the most desperate of straws. Barry Ferguson went into that cauldron, made bold decisions, and got the job done. History tells you Ibrox teams do not go to Parkhead and win easily. 5 years without a victory there proves that. And yet Ferguson's side did what so many before them failed to do. They silenced Celtic's home crowd with a dramatic late winner, leaving Brendan Rodgers and his players scrambling for excuses. And let's not forget, when Reo Hatate equalized, those same Celtic fans who supposedly did not care were bouncing. They thought they were going to snatch another win. Then Hamza Igamane buried them, and suddenly it did not matter anymore. Aye, right. Boyd has also put Rodgers in his place after the Celtic boss tried to dismiss any change under Ferguson. If getting to a European quarter-final and winning at Parkhead within weeks is no significant change, then what exactly would Rodgers consider a change? Maybe he just did not want to admit that his team got outworked and outfought by a Rangers side playing with belief and fire. Now, here is the big question. With Ferguson taking Rangers to a European quarter-final and ending the 5-year drought at Parkhead in a matter of weeks, would it be absolute madness for the new Ibrox hierarchy to even consider looking elsewhere for the permanent manager's job? Rangers have come down hard on the small section of supporters responsible for last week's controversial banner against Fenerbahce, making it crystal clear that this kind of behavior has no place at Ibrox. The club have now been charged by UEFA, and while the full scale of the punishment is yet to be confirmed, Rangers are not mincing their words. Those involved have embarrassed the club and will face consequences. Let's be absolutely clear here. Rangers are a club built on history, success, and an unbreakable fan base that stretches across the world. The atmosphere at Ibrox on a European night is second to none, and the backing of the supporters has played a massive role in the journey to the Europa League quarter-final. But when actions from a minority lead to UEFA sanctions, it damages the club and gives ammunition to those who would love nothing more than to see Rangers dragged down. On top of that, the club have also been charged for objects being thrown onto the pitch, something that is becoming an issue across Scottish football, not just at Ibrox. And yet, despite being targeted with missiles at the Piggery last weekend, it is Rangers who will now face UEFA punishment. That double standard is glaring. Then there's the issue of pyrotechnics. Despite warnings, some supporters ignored the risks, meaning even more fans could miss out on a future Hampden match. It is an ongoing problem that ultimately punishes the wrong people, leaving hundreds of loyal Rangers supporters locked out of big occasions. Now, Rangers have drawn a line in the sand. If you don't believe the club is for everyone, if you bring behavior that drags the name of Rangers through the mud, you are not welcome. And that raises the big question. If UEFA are so quick to charge Rangers, where were the punishments for Celtic after their fans threw objects at Ibrox players and staff at Parkhead. Why is it one rule for Rangers and another for everyone else? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.